So hello everyone and welcome to the 4th ELT International Conference 2024. We're in room 4 and that's basically the first session of today. Our first speaker is Gizem, followed by the presentation with title Assess or Not to Assess? This is the question. And then we hand over the floor to you. Attendees are please requested to mute their mics throughout the presentation, and questions will be addressed at the end of the session. You may also use the chat box to post your questions, and I will read them out for you. Thank you.
Hi, welcome everyone. Hi, Gizem. This is Maria Zahir, and we're welcoming you all to the conference today. And you may start your session now, Ms. Nadia. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm pleased to meet you too. Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for having me here today. I am very excited to be here today with you. So without much ado, let me begin. All right. So as I've said, I'm very excited to speak with you all today. And I'm excited to share some ideas about an approach to teaching that uses assessment to inform instruction and improve student achievement. So this presentation is definitely going to share some easy to implement teaching tips, but it will also discuss ways that you can transform your teaching and transform the way that you look at teaching. Do you? Okay. In this approach, assessment is an important building block for student learning. Teaching in this way has helped me to be a more successful teacher. And I hope that you'll find these ideas as powerful as I have. And I wanted to begin with this allusion to Hamlet's existential question. And I want, don't we all sometimes experience a similar existential crisis when the assessment is the subject matter? Yeah, all right. Let's think about it while I'm talking about session overview. So in today's session, we are going to build a general understanding of assessment-related terms to talk about some key terms. We will examine formative assessment and understand the cycle of formative assessment and learn what it means. And then we will discuss principles in very brief terms and how they can be applied in the classroom, and I will show you some relevant strategies to use. So let's get started. The central concept of this presentation is assessment. So I'd like to start by getting everyone kind of on the same page. What do you think when you hear the word assessment? Think about it and look at these lovely squirrels. Which squirrel are you when you hear the word assessment? Which one reflects you, for instance, now? Which squirrel are you in this session and why? I very kindly ask you to share your numbers with us in the chat box. Okay. I'll be waiting your answers.
So we have a few answers. Some people say they're 6, some say they're 2. I would say I'm kind of 5. Some say 8. 3, 4.
Yeah. Great, great. Thank you for your contributions. So it sounds like, all right, we have all indeed live all these emotions sometimes, right? We can give these reflections times to time. Sometimes we don't, we are not in that mood, and we are we wonder how would our students perform in the exam. So we can sometimes be very excited or very not in that mood, let's say. All right, let me share you my definition of assessment. Indeed, all the methods and tools that educators use to measure students' educational needs and learning progress can be accepted as assessment. So, I'm sorry. Okay, but these assessment tools are not only traditional tests. They are both formative and summative tools in the assessment. So we will talk about this in this session, but I will ask you another question. I very kindly ask you to go to link or scan the QR code and answer this question with a few words. You know, what is formative assessment? What does it mean to you? What do you think? What comes to your mind when you hear the formative assessment? And in the meantime, Nadia, can you share the link in the chat box, please? Or I can also share. I'm sorry. Yeah. You can directly.
It's shared.
Okay, thank you. All right, I will open the main page. Stop the. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's see your answers here. Waiting. I have a few already. So, yes. All right. Where is it? I lost it. Yeah. Nobody? Okay. Nothing comes to your mind, I guess. Yeah. We have a few. So, assessment of learning. It is progressive, maybe tests, and it happens during lesson. Yeah, these are the possible answers. Okay, let me share my screen again for presentation. All right. So, but I can't make it bigger. What happened here? All right.
We have a comment on the chat as well, following a specific criteria.
Thank you. You can read as well. About formative assessment. All right, we will see. Let's think about it. All right, let me share my definition of formative assessment. Okay.
Sorry, Gizem, we could see your notes. So I'm not sure if you wanted that to show as well.
No, I don't. What's happening? I don't know. Okay, let me try again. Is it okay now? No?
No, now it changed again for the presenter, so we could see what you could see, I think.
All right. Sorry for this. All right, so it's there. Okay, when we say formative assessment, it is indeed all of the methods and tools that educators use to get information about student progress and help them to learn. This means that any activity that you use in the classroom can be a form of formative assessment if you intend to learn the progress of the students. All right, so let's look in detail. Let's have an overview of what is formative assessment. Okay, one is when we say formative assessment, it takes place during learning, and the primary purpose is to identify students' current level, and it can be graded or ungraded because there is this informal formative assessment and formal formative assessment types. And it also called assessment for learning because it takes place in the place of learning. Means you can do it at the beginning, during the process, or at the end of a session or a teaching week, etc. All right. When we look at the summative assessment, because these are the two most common assessment types that teachers use in their lesson schools. All right, and the difference is that summative assessment takes place after learning. So when we finish the subject, we do summative assessment types. All right, what's happening? Okay, the primary purpose here is to determine what students have learned, not to see the progress or observe the learning process. So it usually used to give a grade. In the formative assessment, we can give grade, but it's not to grade the student. It's to grade the learning process, how well it goes. And the last one is also summative assessment called assessment of learning. As I've said, it takes place at the end of the learning. Here are some examples of formative assessment: asking comprehension questions, using grammar or vocabulary exercises, or pair and group work, student presentations, drafts of writing. We all use this to see how is learning going. And I want to ask you, what other activities do you use to get information about student progress during the learning process? What do you, my colleagues, use in the process to teach and understand your students' current level? All right. You can use the link. Okay, I'll show you the. Right. Nadia, can you share the link? All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Now I will share the. Can you please go to link and share with me your ideas if there is any that comes to your mind at the moment? And, I want to share it with you. Okay. Okay, this is another tool. This is a tool that you can use in your classrooms as well. You'll just go to the link and click on one of the sticky notes. You can have extra sticky notes here. Type on it, like, for instance, A, B, C, D, cards I use, and just save it. Then you can move the cards on the screen. I use this.
Sorry, we have one on the chat. They're
Okay.
saying that monitoring during speaking activities.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Yeah. Can you use the link or not? Not going very well with the link. Can you try it, Nadia?
I'm not sure if it's gonna work for me.
All right, no worries. Thank you. All right, so we can go on. I will share with you lots of different strategies in this presentation, so we can carry on with my notes. Thank you for your sharing. So if we need to summarize it, formative assessment is like when the chef tastes the soup, and summative assessment is like when the guest tastes the soup. So do you agree or disagree? Show me your thumbs. You can use the smileys, you can use the chat box. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay, good, great. Thumbs up, thumbs down. No?
We've got a thumbs up.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. All right. So we can say that formative assessment is to improve learning, and summative assessment is to grade and judge learning. Here we use both. There's no good or bad assessment type. In this presentation, I'm just trying to give you more ideas of how to use formative assessment because it is more useful when compared to summative assessment to teach. I mean, to assess your teaching. How does it going? How is the process going? What is your students' level? That's why. So why formative assessment? Why do we use formative assessment? Because it provides teachers with information for meaningful feedback. So we take feedback, we will talk about it in a minute, and check students' level. And it enables us to check students' prior knowledge and identify the gaps in the learning, if there is any subjects or any subtopics that the students are struggling to learn. And it enables us to select activities and, most importantly, plan your teaching, our teaching. Okay. It doesn't. Then I have another poll for you. How would you define formative assessment? Thinking about all the things I've been talking about and all your prior knowledge, your own knowledge, how would you define it? As a football match, as a map, or as a suit? Please go to link or just use the QR code, and it's the poll. Click one of them. In the meantime, I will share the poll with you. All right.
We've got one on the chat. I believe that the formative assessment is fairer than the summative one. It all values your efforts throughout the whole process, not only the result.
Oh, great. Great idea. Thank you for your contribution again. Okay, we have some football match addicts here, I guess. All right. We have only 3 answers yet. 4. Okay. So all right. Can return to presentation. Sorry, I have to stop and reshare my screen to show you the results. All right. So let me show you what I think. I think formative assessment is much more like a math. Why? Because it enables us to see where our students at the moment and where our students we want to be our students. So we can see the difference and we can compare current ability levels to the expected learning outcomes. You know, in a map, where here you are sign is the most important sign. If you don't know where you are, you cannot find your way or arrive your destination. That's why I did this analogy between map and formative assessment. It enables us to see a student's current level and suggest some supplementary teaching and identify the gaps and provide more activities, more explanations about that particular subject matter. So we have now reached to formative assessment cycle. So we have goals, instruction, measuring, and feedback cycle. It always goes like this, okay? It's in a cycle. But I have a question here for you. Where do you think is the beginning point of this cycle? Which one comes first? Let's think about our teaching year. What to do first? Please answer in the chat box. What do you think? Which one comes first? Yeah.
So we have goals first.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's true. You know, at the teaching process, we first define our goals, objectives, what to teach in this process. So it comes first. Most of the time, we don't even see our context. We don't see our students, and we have to prepare some plans for them, right? And so then comes the plan goals, and then comes instructions. We do the instruction according to our goals, and then we do measuring, which comes to term of formative assessment, and then the feedback. Feedback is also another most important part of this cycle because it enables us to decide on our goals for the next session or for the next teaching class. We can see what's going good, what is the deficiency, what are the points that students are good at. So it enables us to define our goals, and then the cycle goes on again and again. Then I will briefly talk about formative assessment principles and give you some small tips to implement these in the classroom. One of them is clear learning targets. As we've just mentioned, we need clear learning targets. And we need to ask frequent checks for understanding throughout the lesson. And we should track individual student progress and differentiate instruction when needed. Okay, now I will have an activity with you. Indeed, this is called traffic lights. Have you heard of it? Maybe you already know it. And in this activity, if you apply it in the classroom, you can ask your students to prepare 3 cars, 1 green, 1 red, and 1 yellow, or you can just assist them. It's easy peasy. It takes a minute for students to prepare this. I do it. I always use this activity. So how to use it here? I will give you some prompts in the next slides, and I'll ask you, do you agree, disagree, or not? As we don't have cards here, I want you to share your hearts with me. Okay, if you agree with the statements, please share a green heart on the chat box. If you disagree, please share a red heart. And if you are not sure about the statement, please share a yellow heart in the chat box. So, are you going to share a green heart if you agree with the statement? No? Nobody answers. Thank you, good answer. Okay, are you going to share a red heart if you disagree with the prompt? Okay. And if you're not sure, you're gonna share a what? Yellow heart. Okay, so let's try. Okay, for clear instruction learning targets, I have a prompt for you. Limiting the numbers of learning targets for one lesson or session is good for deciding on clear learning targets. Do you agree with this statement or disagree or not sure? Please share your hearts on the chat box. Yes? Nobody? Okay. Ah, good. EWJ, thank you. It's very nice to see you. Some familiar faces. Okay. Yes, EWJ, thank you. Yeah, yeah. Thanks for contribution. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, as EWJ says also, it depends on the student level, but please don't come up with 6 learning targets for one session. It's always good to limit what you are teaching. For instance, in lesson introduction, we can use a learning target like, I can use formative assessment strategies. For instance, you need to say this. And then in the process, focus on only assessment, for instance, as I've been doing. And in this time, you use teacher modeling, guided practice, and you lead on the independent practice. And at the end of the session, please always ask students, did you meet today's learning targets? They will answer, you'll get your feedbacks, and we will plan the next session. I have a strategy here. This is the KWL chart. This one can be used at the beginning of a lesson. You can use it as a whole class activity. You can divide the board into 3 and ask students, what do you know about the subject? You can take notes. Then ask students, what do they want to know about the subject? Note down them and ask them what they learned at the end of the process. So this can be used as a good example, just good implication of writing clear learning targets. Or you can use it as a student base. You can ask your students to have small charts on their notebooks and, write down these and see how it's going. If you remember, our second strategy was using frequent checks for understanding. So I have 2 prompts here for you. First prompt is asking, do you understand, is an effective way of checking for understanding in the classroom. Do you agree, disagree, or not sure? On the chat box, please. Agree. Okay. Okay, right. Yeah, disagree. Because students always say, yes, right? Always say yes, never say no. I never heard before learning these strategies. I mean, always use different kind of strategies to assess students' learning. And second prompt is using thumbs up, down, or comprehension questions are good examples of using frequent checks for understanding. Can you also share in the chat box? What do you think? Agree, disagree, or not sure? Just examples, these are. Okay. All right. Yeah, there are lots and lots more. but today I'm just trying to share a few of them with you. And yes, you can use this and lots more. You can use comprehension questions to understand student and ask student questions with why, how, double H questions. And students show their understanding through their responses. Another technique, strategy is using these whiteboards. For this activity, each student needs a whiteboard, and you can use an easy peasy type of whiteboard. You know, take a piece of paper, take a plastic sheet and put it inside it. Then ask a short answer question to student. Then the students write the answer, show it to you as a whole class activity, you know, and then erase it and then use it for the next activity or for the next question. The other is hand signals, as we've already tried it. So by cement here. And you also use the hand signal for very different kinds of, you know, there are lots of types of these hand signals, but be careful about cultural differences. Sometimes they may irritate or impress students. So other than you can use them to have answers, their, you know, motivation, everything, you know, how was today's lesson? Give me a 5 or give me a thumb if you don't like the taste test, you know. The other strategies I want to share was understanding to students overall understanding of the spoken language. You can use name cards, rapid responses, or no hands up strategies. All of these strategies help all of your students to contribute in the process and take active roles. In the name cards, you write names of the students in different pieces of papers and you select one and ask the question to that student. So the student knows that her or his name can be selected and he gets ready for the question. In the rapid response, you ask a short question like, what's your favorite animal? And each student goes one by one. My favorite animal is giraffe. My favorite animal is a lion. My favorite is a cat. And it goes all around the room. The last one is no hands up. And indeed, you can combine no hands up with name cards. No hands up, nobody holds up their hands, and students know that they can be chosen, selected to answer. They get ready for the answer. So you choose a random student and ask the question to him, to them.
Sorry to interrupt, just let you know you have still 5 minutes to go.
Oh, just 5 minutes? I have lots to tell. Okay, maybe we can use some break time. No? All right. The other activity is name cards. No, it's okay. You must try it. They have to answer sometimes. Because, you know, Hocam, when you go with only volunteer students, it's always with them. You can't take reflection from the other students. So always it's good to use this kind of strategies that appeal each student. And the other activities, ABCD cards or corners, this is a very good activity, a strategy, sorry. You can use it in different ways. You can give corners, ABCD names and activate students in the classroom. You pose the question and then each student, you count until 3, 1, 2, 3, and each student goes a corner. Then you give the answer and they correct themselves. All right, I'll be quick. The other principle, if you remember, was tracking individual student progress. So I have a true agree or disagree part, but I'm sure you all agree with me in this. So we should use student checklist, success criteria, peer or self-assessment rubrics during while tracking individual student progress. Sometimes it's difficult when you use all the names, you know, this name, tick, this name in the crowded classrooms, especially. But if you use success criteria, or I mean some self or peer assessment types, they may also help. Which leads us to differentiate instruction. You know, we sometimes need to differentiate instructions because there are early finishers or late comers. So at these times, we should give extra support to struggling students, and for advanced students, we should give extra challenge. All right, here are two activities that you can use to differentiate learning. One is Do Now and the other is Think, Pair, Share. I use both of the activities and they work in the classroom. I highly suggest you to use this. You can check online, they are all over the place. As I am limited in the time, I am moving forward. All right, so about feedback. Feedback is important. So for my last few minutes, I will use feedback forms. So feedbacks comes in many forms, but it's best if they come in tiny forms. Okay, I have a feedback type here for you. It is called feedback fairy. The feedback fairies can take different forms. It depends on your context, your students. You can ask your students to draw their own feedback fairies in the classroom at the end of the classroom and ask them several questions. For instance, let's look at the feedback fairy in the middle. Okay, what I learned right in the heads. Okay, tell others what you are going to tell others or wish for. What do you wish for? And indeed, I wanted you to prepare your feedback fairies and share with us on our Padlets. But it will take much time. But if you would like to share with me your feedback fairies about this session, you're welcome. You can use QR code or link all the time. It's open. I'd love to see your feedback fairies, and you can also Google it and find different forms of feedback fairies. And you can also give them a ready fairy if they don't like drawing, but students like drawing most of the time. It's fun for them. You can try it. And there are two others like 3, 2, 1, and 2 stars and one wish. Again, here you ask students to write 3 things they like learning today. 2 things they find interesting, or 1 question they want to ask to you. And you can ask them to another activity, give 2 stars, and wish for something, so we can take it in consideration while planning your next piece. Another activity for reflection is give me 5. Again, you can ask your students put their hand on a piece of paper, draw their hand, and then answer these questions, and then hand it back to you. I've just lastly used this with my teacher training, and we also shared our 5 hands on our Padlets. So you can use Padlets for this too. I hope you can. Maybe you already know Padlets. This is the first time you heard about it. You can Google it. You can find about it. It's very useful for extra teaching in the classroom. You can use it anyway. So my last poll is here for you. I want you to go to the link and write the code and vote for me. Okay? I want to see your reflections. You know, reflection is important. So I'll see what I missed in this session. What should I do for the next session to be better? And I'll see where am I, right? And how it went for you this session. All right? I'll be waiting for this. I want full participation. All right? Okay, now I'll share the.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your presentation. Anyone would like to ask anything? I've got a question from the chat.
Mhm.
Where is the needs of analysis in a formative assessment?
Just a second. Yeah. All right. Okay, while I'm taking answers, we can see your here on the Ziplet. Got two responses. Okay, here. No worries. Okay. So can I take the question again? Yeah.
Where is the needs analysis in formative assessment?
Needs analysis is at the beginning. It must be at the beginning, but you can search and look for it. Needs to how to do it. Needs analysis also can be done in the process. You know, you see what your students need. You see the gaps in their learning process, so you can decide what do they need, or you can do it at the beginning of the term or a year. You know your context, you know the place you work, so you know much or less, and you have an average idea about student profile, so you can do it and modify it. You know, in the formative assessment, there is no such clear cut, you know, to do something. It's all the time. That if you do it just for the sake of progress, it's okay. For instance, I've already prepared lots of other activities, warm-up activities that I use to assess my students' progress. You can use them. So for instance, you use like ABCD cards game, and they show you their cards and you understand. So there's a need. So you help them. You solve it. You edit in the next plan, you know? Is it enough or?
Should be enough because we have to wrap up as well.
Mhm.
From the title of your presentation, I thought you were going to say something about the ungrading. What do you think about that? It's on the chat.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, okay, this formative assessment is about it indeed. Not almost, not grading, but in informal formative assessment, we don't grade. We use symbols, we use cards, we use different kinds of assessment to not to offend, embrace our students, because it is better, it is easier for them to reflect their feelings, their ideas. By using other tools rather than saying or rather than solving some tests. There are some tests, very fun, like Kahoot you can use. But the intention here in formative assessment is not just to give grades, but to understand the present level of students, how do they progress in the process. So ungrading grading is much more about a summative assessment, but we need it. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I hope everything is clear.